Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Americans for Peace Now webinar. I'm Ori Meir, and with me is my colleague Max Alberdeich, our strategic communications maven. We are happy to have you here with us, and we are really happy to host Shahira Shalabi, the co-deputy CEO for programs of the Abraham Initiatives. We will later ask her to tell us a bit about the organization and about the Shared Cities project of the Abraham Initiatives, which she runs. Before we introduce Shahira, our usual reminders and a quick story. So the reminders, as you probably all know, like all our webinars, this one is recorded. We will post the video on our YouTube channel and the audio on our podcast, Peacecast. There will also be a transcript of the conversation available on our website. And then, as you know, you're always welcome to ask questions. We urge you to use the Q&A tool that is at the bottom of your screen, and please keep your questions short. We're addressing today a topic that is very close to my heart. I will take a couple of minutes to just tell you why. In the year 2000, I was hired by Haaretz newspaper to cover Israel's Arab public. The idea was to cover it as a sort of a features beat rather than a news beat, to dive deep into the topic and produce well-researched pieces. But guess what? My first day on the job was October 1st of 2000. As many of you may remember, it was the first day of the Second Intifada. As well as the first day of the most bloody demonstrations ever of Palestinian citizens of the State of Israel against Israel's Jewish establishment. I was really thrown into frantic news coverage, but a couple of days after the demonstrations subsided, Haaretz's features editor asked me and my colleague and friend Lili Galili to repeat a project that we had done a few years earlier and take the temperature of mixed towns in Israel. So we mapped them from the north to the south, from Akka in the north to Beersheba in the south, although Beersheba is not really an officially mixed town. And it was really one of the most intense and fascinating projects I've ever done. The conversations we had and the observations from this project are still with me. And this series of articles was translated to Arabic and published in the West Bank. We had great, reactions from both sides of the Green Line. One of our observations was that these towns are potential time bombs. They can also, however, adopt policies and practices that would turn them into local models or laboratories of shared communities, which could be applied on the national level in Israel between Jews and Arabs. We ended one of our reportages with a story about a pharmacy which had been owned by an Israeli Jew, and where he employed Arab workers. The pharmacy was then bought by an Arab citizen of Israel with 3 advanced academic degrees, who in turn employed Jewish workers at the pharmacy. And we ended the story by saying it may not be exactly Ben-Gurion's vision, but as usual, life is more powerful than any political agenda. So pragmatism reigns supreme. And Shahira Shalabi, who's with us today, is an architect and a practitioner of pragmatism in Jewish-Arab relations in Israel. A few details about her you already saw in the invitation. She has a very sweet cat, which we just saw on our screens. Before joining the Abraham Initiatives, she served as the Deputy Mayor of Haifa. She was a member of the Haifa City Council and was among the founders of the Palestinian feminist movement in Israel. She has established several organizations working to improve the status of Arab women in Israel. She is a group facilitator specializing in dialogue and conflict resolution, and there's a lot more to tell about her, and hopefully she will tell us a bit about her role at the Abraham Initiatives. Again, where she is, as we said, she runs the Mixed Cities program. So with this rather long, and I'm sorry, introduction, Shahira, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you a lot for inviting me.
So, Shahira, let's start with some background on your journey as a city councilor. What got you into local politics? What led you to enter into that? And maybe you can tell us a little bit about some of your chief insights from your tenure on the Haifa City Council.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm so excited to be with you here and just share with you some of my insights, some insights of my journey in politics and also in social change organization. I will share you more about my ideas about the shared society and the shared city model, and I totally agree with you that we really can reshape the relationship and the structures of the relationship in the joint living places. But we will talk later about this. But back to your question, actually, I have been engaged in political and social activism from young age. You know, I grew up in a family with a political awareness, and which encouraged me to struggle for equality and social justice. And I grew up in a village in the north. Then I moved to Haifa in order to study in Haifa University. There I became involved in the Arab student movement, and I started to be advocating for freedom of expression, equal rights in the campus, and resistance against the occupation. And when I finished my degree in the university in Haifa, I became to be a political and social activist in the city of Haifa, especially in two main fields. One of them is the feminist movement. I joined the feminist movement in Haifa. It was a shared Jewish and Arab feminist movement. And I worked for years in order to advance and the status of women in general in Israel and in the Arab society in particular. And I was very involved in building the shared society model in Israel. So in 2018, I decided that I want to run for first time in my life. I was very active in political parties and in the political field, but I didn't think about a political career. But I decided that it might worth it as a woman first and as a feminist and as a politician just to run for the a local elections. And as because I'm a part of the Democratic Front political party, well known as Hadash, I think that so many of you are familiar with this name, with this party. And we secured me and my partner, we secured two seats in the city council out of 31 seats. Means we're minority inside a minority and a minority. And also, I saw that I was a woman out of three Arab women in general, as they were elected as a city council in mixed cities in general. And it was for the first time that we have three women at the same time in the shared cities or in the mixed cities in Israel. So one of the things that I learned that Arab women, they are not encouraged, really, they are not supported to join the political journey or to just try to run and to be elected to the to the local political authorities and also to the parliament. And one main thing that I learned in my journey in the city council of Haifa, that politics are different from the national politics. That they have direct impact in the citizens, and it determines the daily services that they get. So this is the first thing. Second thing that I thought it was important for me that these services that the residents of the cities directly influenced by the political perception of the mayor. It means that if you want to influence, if you want to bring an impact, you should enter the coalition with the mayor. Otherwise, you will stay there for 5 years fighting without achieving the rights for your community.
So what you're saying is that, well, we'll get to it later. I wanted to just to clarify that in order to really be impactful in local politics, you must be a member of the coalition. But we'll get to it later. So what I'd like to ask you about is the coming election. So on October 31st, Israeli citizens will go out to the polls to elect their municipal leaders. Among the many local and regional councils up for election are 7 Israeli cities that are known as mixed or shared. What do you say, mixed or shared? Which?
I will say something about this.
Okay, so let me maybe
okay,
I'll ask the question first, and then you can address it. So those are towns where Jews and Arabs live together. In all those 7 towns, Arab lists will be running and are expected to have seats on the council. What is the significance then of Arab inclusion in local coalitions? And how does this political partnership impact the lives of Arab residents? In what ways does it foster a sense of belonging and working together for the common good?
Okay, I will relate to the first part of your question when you said if it's mixed or shared.
Yeah.
Actually, in Israel they use the terminology mixed cities in order to define the cities, the 7 cities actually. There used to be 5 in the past that they have a majority of Jewish people, Jewish majority, and Arab minority in it. So, but this is like it's not a legal definition. It doesn't mean anything for budgets or for rights of the Arab citizens in the cities or budget allocating in these cities. It's a way that seculars are trying to understand what's going there in the mixed cities. So the mixed cities, as you started, you said they had the potential of being the model of how to live in a shared living in Israel, because these are the most close places where Arabs and Jews are sharing the space. They're not only sharing the space in workplaces. They are not only sharing the space in the streets. They are living in the same buildings. They are living in the same neighborhood. So they have the potential, and they're creating a model. This is what I'm saying. They not only have the potential, but they're really creating a model how to live together. But at the same times, because they live next to each other, I used to call it the borders. They live next to the borders. And the borders everywhere in the world, yeah, they might be a potential for exchanging the knowledge, for building relationship, for building economic cooperation, but it might be the place where the war happened. So, and we need to understand how to deal with so close relationship that are not maintained. They are only happening. They're happening in the street, they're happening in the workplaces, but they are not maintained by the government, they are not maintained by the local authorities. And I will elaborate about this later, but I want back to your questions about what does that mean to enter the coalition in the mixed cities. Okay, so in entering the coalition, I started to say something. If you wanna impactful, the way that the budget allocated in the mixed cities and how the services are provided for your community, for the people that you represent, you need, we call it, to take a seat next to the table. This is the only way that you can really influence and provide good services to the city residents, because the city councils and the mayor and also the professional staff of the municipality, they are the one who decide what kind of services each will get, because the general budget, the national budget that the city achieve from the government is not colored for this population or for other. It's maybe be allocated for some kind of services, but in order to decide who will get it, I mean the budget, you need to be there around the table and say what needs needs to be covered. So some of the services that are insured, because a municipality cannot allow itself not to support and to give budget for schools, but it can decide that they are not going to support sport movements, they are not going to support culture, they are not going to support youth movements. So because it's not determined by law what kind of services and what kind of rights you can get. So right-wing mayors use the situation in order just to prevent giving budget and services and rights for the Arab society. So it's very important, as a practical way and strategic way. It's like strategic way to ensure that you are getting the right, but also in the ideological as an idea to build this partnership. For me, being in a coalition, it's more than sitting around the table. It's like I'm bringing the idea that we can do it together. And also for the residents of the city, I'm talking for the Arab residents of each city, it will give them a feeling of cooperation, sharing the power. It will increase their feeling of belonging to the space, and it can build the identity of being the resident of this city.
So in May of 2021, and some of our viewers may remember this, there were unprecedented bloody clashes between Arabs and Jews in mixed cities. And I think a lot of people thought at the time that the damage following that was irreparable. So I was hoping that you could speak with us a bit about the current dynamics in mixed cities, 2.5 months out from elections. And maybe you can say a few words about some of the contenders who are vying for leadership positions, and maybe talk a bit about the efforts of far-right Jewish organizations and parties who are working to try to gain control of city councils.
Thank you, Val, very much. It's an important question. And unfortunately, I can only agree with you that during the events of May 21 and long after, it seems that relations between Jews and Arabs in mixed cities were wholly damaged. The general feeling was that we would probably never return to what was what we had before this, and the main feeling that this situation was not fixable. And in my opinion, and also in an opinion of many scholars, these events in the mixed cities led to the increase in the power of the extreme right in Israel, which influenced the results of the Israeli parliament elections. So because of these events, I think some of us are thinking that people wanted to strengthen the right-wing parties in Israel, because the feeling was that these events caused a sense of insecurity and lack of trust among both people in Israel, which led to a crisis in the relationship and increase in voter turnout for the right. So for the right. The right, who has the power today, they are starting to take over the local elections. They knew that they can gain power based on in the crisis 2 years ago. They are trying to build their power, increasing their power based on the crisis 2 years ago. They are trying to raise the level of tension between the two groups. They spread racist discourse. They engage in constant incitements against Arabs and in the mixed cities, and against anyone who still call and believe in our partnership. And in the recent months, we are witnesses that the intense struggle to control local authorities. They knew that if we could control the parliament, it means that the other target should be the local authorities. But they are not only the right wing are trying to do this. Most of the national parties, the parties in the coalition and the parties in the opposition, they understand the significance of local elections. And they want gain power there because it will be the improve. Who will win the local elections? It will be improve who are controlling the state of Israel, and not only the mixed, not only the local elections. And so we can see today Likud, Yesh Atid, and Benny Gantz, and also we can see similar efforts from Otzma Yehudit, who are trying to control and take over the city council in the mixed cities. But I would like to clarify something in order to clarify the whole picture for our audience, that we should know that the extreme right-wing groups, what so-called Hagara'in Haturani in the mixed cities, some of them, they are former settlers who came to live in the mixed cities after this engagement from Gaza. And after they were evicted from their homes in the Gush Katif settlements. I don't know if you remember this period in 2005. And after being evicted from their settlements in the occupied Gaza Strip, those settlers came to live in mixed cities, and they were supported by the government and from the government and from some of the mayors in the mixed cities. They got cheap houses, and they took over municipal services, such community centers and culture centers, and all this under the eyes and the shadow of the support of the local and central government. And when we understand who are this group who are trying to control, not only they're trying to control the discourse, they are trying to control the political life in the cities. They persecute municipal and governmental and academic institution and civil society organization. We can see today that they go physically. They visit places where left-wing organizations carry out activities to prevent them from carrying these activities, and sometimes they use violence in order to prevent from different institutions, different activists to carry out their activity.
So we are running a little fast in the sense that I think we started discussing issues that are kind of complex. There are a couple of questions from the audience that have to do with the basics, and so I thought maybe we can kind of zoom out a bit and talk about what actually are mixed towns. In other words, what qualifies a town to be a shared town or a mixed town? Is it the proportion of Arab residents living there? And maybe also you can say a few words about the difference. Is there a real difference in government policies toward Arab residents of mixed cities and Arab residents who live in Arab communities?
Yeah, let's divide the question into a few. The first question was, how do we define mixed cities in Israel?
Right. Maybe we should also just mention which towns there are, because it's only 7.
Okay. So we have 3 main kinds of mixed cities in Israel. We have the historical mixed cities, which we define them as mixed cities. These cities are Haifa, Jaffa, Ramli, Lud, and Akko, what we call in Hebrew Akko and Arabic Akka. Okay, so these 5 towns before 48, they were Palestinian towns with a Palestinian majority residents. And after the establishment of the State of Israel, and the Palestinian residents of the cities become to be the minority of the cities, because some of them left, some of them just were forced to leave their houses, and the newcomers, the Jewish newcomer community started to live in the cities, and the cities were the first. It was just like they were in how to say develop places to live. You know, Jaffa was the a kind of the capital of Palestine. Jaffa used to have a theater and a cinema and the newspapers. It has a rich Haifa and Jaffa. They used to have a rich cultural life. So people wanted to come and live in the cities because these cities were really developed and wanted to live there. Then the first 5 big cities that we are talking about them. And now the state of Israel defines the mixed city as a city with 10% of its residents Arabs and or 20,000 people of the residents out of the residents are Arabs. So this is a new definition. We had this definition. This definition was proposed by the GR, the government resolution for the mixed cities last year. The government resolution called 1834. I will talk about what's the importance of this resolution. So this is the first kind of the mixed cities. The other mixed cities that we are talking about, we call them the new mixed cities. The new mixed cities, they were originally places, settlements, kind of settlements that were built to encourage the Jewish community to move from the center and to live in the north or in the south in other places, such like Carmel and Nofa Galil, what's used to be called the Upper Nazareth. And these cities, these are new cities in Israel that that their location is in the middle of Arab, other small localities, towns and villages and etc. And because of the because they are very close to the Arab places, so the Arab young families started to move from their own towns because of the lack of housing, and maybe also because they are looking for to live in a city. So they started to move. And in some of the places, just like Nofa Galil, now we are talking about between 30% to 40% of this city, of the Upper Nazareth, Nofa Galil city, are Arabs. And still, we call them this kind of a population who moved to the cities. They are not getting any kind of services. We are talking about Beersheba, Nofa Galil, Nahariya, and in the future, we will have also Afula, and Beersheba, Carmel, and Nofa Galil. And in the future, we are talking about Afula and Nahariya. It means that the Arab young families are moving to live in the next cities next to their towns. So, but one of the situations that are one of the main things that happening in these cities, that these cities for the Arab population are a kind of hotels. They are not getting any kind of services. Even in Nofa Galil, we are talking about 30% of the population or the residents. They don't have even one school, one classroom for their kids. They don't have a kindergarten. They don't have a culture center. They don't have a community center. We call them the invisible communities. It means that you live there, you pay taxes, but you don't get any kind of services from the municipality. So, and what is most important to say here, that these residents, Arab residents of new mixed cities, are usually young families, well-educated and wealthy families. That they can offer for themselves just to move and to buy an apartment in good places in the mixed cities. So this dynamic of living there and being absent, living and being absent, this is one of the things, one of the struggles that we are trying to deal with. Because if you are a resident of the city, the first thing that you have the right to get the daily services. Education is one of the most important things. It's basic, it's fundamental thing. That
and maybe it's important to just explain, Shahira, that the education systems in Israel are segregated. In other words, Arab children, Arab pupils go to Arab schools, they have the choice if they want to go to other schools, but most parents choose to send their kids to most Arab parents choose to send their kids to Arab schools, and those do not exist in a place like Nofa Galil, which used to be Nazrat Illit, Upper Nazareth.
Yeah, we have in Israel, we have two separated educational systems, one for Arabs, and we have more. We have one also for Haredi. We have one for we call it Mamlahti Dati for religious people. But in general, okay, we can define two main systems. One we call it the Arabic system, Arabic education system, and the Hebrew education system. And most, I can talk about more than 90%, even maybe 95% of the Arabs, Palestinians in Israel, they send their kids to an Arabic schools because they want to ensure that their kids, their children, know their language, they reading and writing with their mother language, and they want to ensure that they're keeping their culture. Because Arabic is not only a political identity, Arabic is a cultural identity. It's the language that you dominate, that you communicate with people. That is the language that you this is the songs that you listen to, and also it's a part of your identity. Because when you are losing your land, when you are losing your state, when you are losing your status, you need to keep your identity, you stick to your identity. So but also, I'm sorry. Okay. So families who live in the cities, the invisible communities who live in the shared cities, in the mixed cities, let's call them, they every morning they take their children, their kids, they drive their kids from the city and in Nofa Galil, they take their kids to Nazareth, to the regular Nazareth. It means to the downtown. And from Carbiel, parents send their kids to schools, to the villages and towns, that their original towns. It means that if you live in Carbiel, you send your kids to Nahef, to Deir al-Asad, to Majli Krum every day, every morning, click, clack in the car, and you just take your kids outside of the city. And this is very important just to emphasize that when you don't have a school next to your home, it means that you don't have friends in your neighborhood. It means that you don't have a community. It means that your feeling of belonging to the space, you don't have this feeling of belonging. Because what is the school? The school is more than just learning to write and to read. It's a place that you find friends. It's the place that you find a friend that you visit them in the evening. It's the place that your parents meet. It's the place that you decide that we are going to picnic this week. We are going to gather as a community, as a group of parents together. And when you don't have this, then you don't have the community. And your feeling of non-belonging, that you don't belong to the space, I think this is also, it's in purpose. I think the municipalities don't want to build schools because two main reasons. First, they don't want to build this feeling of connection to the space and belonging to the space, and they don't want to encourage more families. They want families who want to move to the city to think, oh, what should I do in the morning? Every morning I will take my kids to the village, to the town. No. It's too problematic. I will stay in my place, so I won't move. So in some places, and we see the same phenomena also in the mixed cities, just like Haifa, when they build a new neighborhood, they don't think that Arabs will move to the new neighborhood. They think only about building an Hebrew school. They build a synagogue. They build a public center only in Hebrew. All the employees will speak Hebrew and want to speak Arabic, and they don't take in consideration that in each new neighborhood, the 30% of the residents of the neighborhood will be Arab. So what should they do? Every morning and every afternoon, they need to drive their kids to different places in order to go to school or in order to go to theater and see a show or anything like this.
Yeah, I'd like to ask you a little bit about another effort of the Abraham Initiatives, which is promoting informed voting. If you could talk a little bit about how you do what you do there and how you do it, and maybe particularly with an emphasis on women.
Actually, the within the Abraham initiatives, we actively engaged in various efforts to encourage residents to vote. First of all, go and vote. The range of voting in the mixed cities is too low. 60% for in the Jewish society and less than 46% in the Arab society. So people in general, they don't have a feeling that they need to impact and to influence the results of the elections in the local authorities. Although they are really affected directly from these elections, but there is a decide that someone will do the work. There is always someone who is doing the work. So we decided this year, and also that we would like really to encourage people to vote to what we call it the equal city. Equal city is a kind of we're playing with a word, you know. It has two main equal in Hebrew and Arabic has two meanings. One meaning is equal from the word equality, and the other side that it's I don't know how to say it. That equal, it's worth it. It's like שווה שוויון, שווה ושוויון. And musawa wa yusawi in Arabic. And this is what we are trying to encourage people just to take responsibility based on the general elections results that we had, that we did brought this extreme government. We would like people just to think. We're asking people now, we are trying to encourage people, before you vote, remember that you vote determine the way that your city will be run during the 5 years, the 5 next years. So please think about it. This is one thing. And one of the other things, we encourage a collaboration and political partnership between different parties. We would like to see that shared parties, we would like to see Arab and Jews are running together to the local elections in the mixed cities. And we also would like to see agreements, coalition agreements. We would like to see, we are trying to encourage mayor, and we are trying to encourage the different representatives to think about how are they going to enter the coalition together, what kinds of negotiations we try to encourage them to negotiate in order to do this in the future.
Max, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to take a question from the Q&A and then expand on it a little bit. So the question is essentially, how does the Abraham Initiative support Palestinians running for office near major cities like Jerusalem? And I want to expand that a bit to, what does that support look like, especially against a backdrop of what I'm going to politely call misinformation and sort of the conflict with normalization and the way that then influences politics.
And maybe specifically just comment on the question of whether you believe that Palestinian residents of Jerusalem, of East Jerusalem, should run in municipal elections there. Would you recommend it to them?
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to say. You know, but again, and in the practical side of the answer, I think that the Palestinians residents of, they're not really residents of, but the Palestinians of Jerusalem who live in Jerusalem, let's be PC, can decide who will be the mayor. And they can also, if they will decide that they want to take over the municipality, maybe Palestinian mayor can win the elections. If they all of them vote, maybe Palestinian mayor can win the elections in Jerusalem. So last elections, we were just playing with the idea, what will happen if Jerusalem will have a Palestinian mayor? Just think about it. It's going to change the whole picture, the whole situation in the city of in the capital of Israel, in Jerusalem. It reminds me when Obama won the elections in the United States, it changed the morality, the mentality, the feeling of belonging. But at the same time, it's not only practical questions, it's a political questions. It's the Palestinians in the West Bank, they are asking and struggling for political determination, self-determination. They see themselves as part of the future Palestinian state, and they see Jerusalem, or maybe West Jerusalem, the west side of Jerusalem, as the capital of the upcoming Palestinian state. So it's complicated. If I can recommend or not, I'm not in a stage that I can do this, but I'm in a stage that I can understand what's happening there. And I know there's a lot of resistance among this issue.
Yeah, so we'll take a couple more. We have quite a few questions here, and people are encouraged to ask more if they would like. There is an interesting question that deals with an issue that is not related to the actual subject of our discussion today, but maybe in some way it is. And that is the question of participation of Palestinian Israelis, Arab citizens of Israel, in the current pro-democracy demonstrations. What is the situation there? I know that there's a great deal of debate within the Arab community in Israel of whether to join and how to join, particularly among Haifans, if I understand correctly. What is your position?
Yeah, I will tell you what is my position, but I will also describe what's happening there for people that are not familiar with this. That now the protest movement, let's call it, some of them are call it the democratic movement. They are protesting, for more than 8 months, and so many people were surprised why the Palestinians, citizens of Israel, are not taking part in these demonstrations. Because for some of the people who are arranging, organizing this protest, they thought this is the opportunity for the Palestinians just to take part in building the democratic process in Israel. But there are few main things. First of all, some of the leaders of the protest, they decided that they want to talk only about democratic state for the Jewish people of Israel. So the idea is to be united as a Jewish population and the Jewish people under the flag of Israel. Means that our target is the Jewish state, democratic Jewish state, first of all for Jewish people, united under the flag. This is the first thing. And the second thing, they are talking about going back to be democratic. We want to have take back your democratic state. For the Palestinians in Israel, for some of them, okay, let's say, Israel was never democratic for them. Some of the discriminations laws and the racist laws that Palestinians suffer from today in Israel are a result of this democratic state. They were taken under this democratic state. So for some of the people, they don't want to struggle for the same democratic state. We want to struggle for something, but for shared society, for shared city, a city that's based on the idea that we can reshape and rethink about the state of Israel, about the identity of the state of Israel in terms of, is it a city, is it a state for all of its citizens, or it is a state for one nation, and you will stay the minority beside this nation. And then we will discuss with you and we'll negotiate with you your identity, your rights, if you are equal or not equal. So for the Palestinians in Israel, they don't want to play this game again. They're telling them, if you want to change, let's just change together. Let's think about reshaping the land space of the space of Israel. Let's build our political relations, about our citizen relation from the beginning. But if not, you're asking me to share, but not to be partner.
So I just want to loop us back to a little bit of the earlier conversation about schools. There's a question from the chat that I do think is important and I'd like to address. Can you comment on the impact of bilingual yad b'yad or hand-in-hand schools? Would you say that those are creating better relationships among Arab and Jewish children and their families, or just how would you describe the impact of those?
Oh, yes, yeah, of course. They create a good relationship. These are the only places in Israel that we have shared education in a way that both sides feel partnership, equal, feel that their language, their culture have the same status. And it's like a revolution. It's in Israel, in the state of Israel, where being equal is not it's not obvious. Being equal is something that you need just to discuss it, you need to fight for it. And when you create a space that by default, this is the main idea of being there. You are there because you are equal, you are there because we want to be partners, we're building our partnership. So I believe in this model. I don't think it's the only model that we can have in Israel. We can have different kinds of models, and we are talking about today about different kinds of models of building the shared learning together. And one of the ideas that we are trying to build today and to encourage to do, and my organization is involved in thinking about this, we are talking about two models. One model is the shared learning. It means that you can learn together one subject in schools. It means that you can be in touch, you get to know each other, you build relationship. But the other model that we are building now, we're thinking about for next cities, which is a very unique one. We call it the shared campus. What do we mean by the shared campus? There's something that's happening in the mixed cities, that more Arabs are moving to the to some of the neighborhoods in Haifa and in Akka and in Ramle and in Nof Galil. When more families get into the neighborhood, it means that there are less Jewish families who are living there. But the schools will stay Hebrew schools. And we are saying now we don't need to build any new school. We don't need, we need we can use the resources, the current resources, in order to build what we call it the shared campus. It means that if you have a huge building inside the neighborhood for a school, so just divide it between the two groups. One part will study in Arabic and one part will study in Hebrew. And then you can find a shared space where they can learn shared things together. It means they can play sport together, they can study English together, they can study math together. This is a huge it will bring huge change to the neighborhood. It means that you build a relationship between the people, you get them to know each other, and both of them will speak the two languages. It's an opportunity for the Jewish kids to study Arabic also. You know, I live in a mixed city in Haifa, that my kids from early age, they used to speak Hebrew. They knew how to speak Hebrew, but the Jewish kids didn't speak Arabic. It's only from one side. And if we really want to encourage people just to start to if you want to start to think in a different way about each other, to accept the other, they need to know the language and the culture.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Two quick comments before I ask you the question that probably will be the last one on this webinar. Two things. First, there's a question by one of our participants. How do you say yad biyad in Arabic? Yad biyad. It's like yad biyad. So same thing, same words.
That's right.
And the other thing regarding Jerusalem, just because I see a couple of comments and questions here, we may have thrown a bit of a wrench into the conversation here by mentioning it. The situation in Jerusalem is not like the situation in other towns and cities in Israel where Jews and Arabs live together. It's different because East Jerusalemites, Arab East Jerusalemites, are not citizens of the state of Israel. And therefore, they do have the right to participate in local municipal elections, but they don't really use that right for various reasons. Some of them Shahira mentioned earlier, but we won't go into the whole issue. If people want a little more background about it, just email me and I can send you some material about it, but we won't go into it here because it's not really relevant to our discussion here. You wanted to say something about it, Shahira?
Yes, I wanted to say something about this, that some of the organization and also some of the governmental offices are trying to define Jerusalem as a mixed city, and we refuse to include Jerusalem. When I defined it, the 7 ones, I didn't mention Jerusalem as a mixed city. But for the government of Israel, Jerusalem is a mixed city. It means they're trying just to determine the fact that Jerusalem is united, and it will never be divided for the 2 states. It's not. It's the capital of Israel, and this is this is the reality in the ground. So they are trying just.
Yes. So for our last question, I wanted to go back to something that we started with which was describing mixed or shared cities in Israel as possible laboratories where you can come up with positive experiences that would be applied on the national level. So my question to you is, both from your work at the Abraham Initiatives and from your experience as being the deputy mayor in Haifa and a member of the city council, what kind of lessons have you learned that you think could be applied to have better relations between Jews and Arabs in Israel on the national level beyond the municipal experience?
National level?
Yeah, or municipal, whatever you think is,
No, I just didn't get your question. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think in order to answer this question, maybe we should go back to the to compare between what we call shared living and shared society. Okay, I will give short framing for this. So living together, shared living together is about relationship between people. Okay, it describes the processes and the dynamics that happen naturally between people in the street, in the workplaces, in the neighborhood, and usually people know how to do this. Okay, I talked about this, that people know how to live with each other. But when we talk about the shared society, shared society, it's about power relation, not only relationship between people. It's about budget. It's asked questions about budget and policies. So in order to improve and build the good relationship for a long term, because we are going to live here together forever, we can't only build on the shared living. We can't build only in the streets in order to create the way how do we live together. We need to change the policies of the government and the local authorities. They need to start to build and to shape and to take responsibility. This is what I'm saying. If you take responsibility on how people should live together in your city or in your region or in your neighborhood, it means that you can build this relationship forever. Then what happened in May 21 won't happen again. But if you keep it for the instance to happen, it won't happen. It will happen, but partly. Just like I said, if you think about, if you're a municipality and you're building a new neighborhood, you should think, who is going to live here? And what kind of services should I provide? And what kind of relationship should I build with the people? This is the first thing. The other thing that we really, I think that if we build in the shared society model, the shared society model is a socio-political framework that's grounded on the idea of the right of the city. We believe that people who live in a city, in any place, city, when I'm saying city, it's any place that's any residential place. So they have the right to participate and the right to influence. And also they have the right to build an urban citizenship. So if you are, as an authority, encourage people to participate, if you hear them, you encourage them, and you ask them, how do they want to shape their own urban place, and how do they want to live together? Because in a city, if you create what we call it, united collective identity for the residents of the city. Because one of the problems in Israel that the Israeli identity divides us for Palestinians and Israelis. And then it seems sometimes that it's impossible for us to meet, as around shared interests. But as a resident of place, as a resident of Haifa, I'll give you an example. As a resident of this neighborhood, we can build an identity as the residents of this neighborhood, and then we can work together in order to achieve our goals. We will work together in order to achieve our shared interest. So in order to build this, you need also to change the way that the minorities are representative in the municipality or on the decision-making committees. It means that you need to ensure that minorities that they are never succeed to be representative, to bring their voices. As an authority, it's your responsibility just to encourage people, not only to encourage, just to reach out people and to ask them about their needs and to encourage them to take an action and let them believe that you really want to hear them, that you are take their need in the consideration. This is how you build trust between the people. This is how you build a partnership. This is how you just encourage people to accept each other as the others.
I really like this distinction that you made between the identity as belonging to a shared society, whether it's local and I would say national, and the national origin or the national identity of people. So if I'm trying to apply that to the national level in Israel, Yaret, let's wish that Jews and Arabs in Israel would reach a situation where their shared citizenship, their shared sense of citizenship, and would supersede their national identity as Jews or Palestinians.
In the model that we are building for this, we call it the third space, the third shared space. We need to create. Sometimes it's just like I talked about, the shared campus. Okay, if you can't go to the same school, go to the shared part of the school. Okay, and then create new identity, new things that you can work together, create your common interests. And people would like to do this. I believe that people who decided and choose to live next to each other, they want to build it.
So
the only one who doesn't want it is the state.
No, it's such important work. Shahira, thank you so much for talking with us today. I do hate to be this person. We are starting to run short on time. Just a note for all of our viewers, the recording of this will be available on our YouTube channel, along with all of the recordings of our previous webinars. But In the meantime, Shahira, thank you so much. It was really a pleasure speaking with you today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.